Alright, so this is about to be episode 3, I believe. I decided for this episode, I'm gonna do it with a video because why not? Um, but today we are talking about the modern age. So what is that? What's the modern age? Well, the modern age is high school. But this is the modern age part 1. This is going to be a few parts, probably 2 or 3. But essentially it's just going to be going through every year of high school so far. So freshman year was interesting because it was very new. It was not like middle school. It was very much a different kind of experience, I guess. But I was very much the same person that I was in middle school. Very immature is what I'll say. And what that led to was disappointment, I guess I'll say, in grades and in the outcome, I guess, of how things went out. But I think the most significant thing to talk about freshman year is the lack of feeling. I had no feeling in freshman year, and this is because of a specific situation that went on that year. And what that was I got arrested. And that's how I usually like to preface this story, because people think all these things when you say, I got arrested. So I don't know what the first thing that came to mind was when I said that, but I'll give you the truth. The truth is that one day, at the end of school, I got picked up by my stepmom, and I guess we were all just having a bad day or something, but one thing led to another. I got punished for something I said with the loss of my phone privileges, which, it's a very common punishment for kids to have. But then I came home to some really humiliating things. I won't really get into that much, but essentially, I was being very much belittled and I wouldn't take it. So, me being the person I was, I couldn't handle my anger. So I just left. I left the house, after essentially blowing up. I just left the house. And I just went and sat in the bed of my dad's truck, to just kind of like clear my head and get out of the situation, cool myself down, I guess. But my dad didn't like that. And essentially what that came down to was he didn't like it so much. That made him so mad. That made him mad enough to put his hands on his own son, drag him out of the truck, slam him to the ground, and hold him by his throat. My dad was mad enough to do all of that to his own son. So, I want you to imagine being 14 years old, going through that. It wasn't a fun time, is what I'll say. I was terrified for my life. I went to my father's house. Sorry, my neighbor's house. I don't know why I said my father, I was already there. But I went to my neighbor's house. And mind you, I've never met these people in my life. Not even once spoken to them, but I walked over to them, crying, bawling my eyes out, asking for help, asking if they had a phone for me to call my mom, because I didn't have a phone, because it was taken away. So, unfortunate series of events, I guess. But even more unfortunate is that I didn't remember either my mom's or my stepdad's phone number. I could not for the life of me remember it. And that was heartbreaking because I knew I had to go back into that house with my dad after what had just happened to me. And that's what I did, even though I probably just should have just stayed out. But I didn't know what else to do, so I went back in and I tried to get a hold of my mom through my family computer because that's the only way I could have done it, under the disguise of doing homework. And it worked. It worked well. I was able to text my mom through the computer. Don't exactly remember how I ended up doing that, but I did. And she ended up coming over, but I didn't know she came over, and she was sitting out the house for a while. And while she was sitting out the house in her car, I was inside packing my things, getting ready to go, because by the time I got the message out to her through the computer, I got caught and I couldn't use it anymore. So I was inside packing my things, and my dad saw me packing stuff away, and he asked me what I was doing, and I told him I was leaving. I was being straight up, I'm leaving, because I was scared. But he didn't like that, and he didn't like it so much. He didn't like that so much that he would rip the bag off my back, right? And all I wanted to do was leave, mind you. He didn't like it so much that he threw me to the ground. He didn't like it so much that he tossed me around my room, and I hit against my dresser, my bed, the floor, the door, everything you could think of. He didn't like it so much that he did that to his own son. And at that point, I was like, I'm just going to leave then. I'm going to leave. I have to leave. Otherwise, I thought I was going to die that day. So I left. Didn't know where I was going to go. I just knew I had to be out. I had to leave. And as I left, as I opened that door, I saw my mom's car waiting outside that whole time. But she didn't know what to do because she couldn't text me. She couldn't call me. She didn't know what was happening. And I saw that car and I started breaking down in tears because I knew that I was safe for a moment. And I just told her to drive away. So we went to my mom's house, where she let me know that she had to call the police. Which to me, I didn't want that to happen because I didn't want anything bad to happen to my dad. But little did I know that was not what I should have been worried of. What I should have been fearful of is them doing something to me. Because when they arrived at my house, my mom's house, to get my testimony, they decided that I would not receive as harsh of a sentence if they arrested me as opposed to arresting him. That's what they decided. And to me, I thought that was fucked up. That's bullshit. Arresting me, the victim, me, because you don't want him to go away for a while. I thought that was crazy. I still have not made sense of that to this day. But it happened. So I left my mom's house in cuffs after being physically and emotionally abused by my father. So, and I stayed there, whatever place they had me at. I don't remember exactly what it was called, It wasn't exactly a jail cell, really. There wasn't really, I don't know how to explain it, but I was there for a while, for a long ass time. Meanwhile, my head was pulsating, felt like it was gonna explode. My back hurt like I had been carrying an entire NFL football team on it for 10 hours straight. Like, the stress that was put onto me that day on my muscles was immeasurable. Like, I could hardly move, is what I'll say. And I felt horrible. But then luckily I was able to come back home. But I did not have to go back to my father's house, which is a good thing. It's a good thing I didn't have to go back there. But what became of that is a bad relationship with my father and with my sister, because my sister was there that day at my dad's house. But the sad part is that she blamed me for it, and she still does to this day blame me for what happened. Now, I can see how that could be the case. I can see how you can think he's always been a bad mouth. He's always talked back. He's always said things that he shouldn't. And to that, I would say you're right. I had always been that way. I'd never known when to let things go. But that, to me, is not an excuse to hurt somebody like that. To put your hands on your own son, that's never okay. So, since that day, September 28th, I think it was, something like that. Since that day, I hadn't had any real feelings anymore. I had no motivation. I had no purpose. I felt like I had nothing. I had no one. Right? And that's when I started music. I started making music, I should say. I started recording myself singing, recording myself rhyming, recording myself saying whatever was on my mind just to get it out for once. And what that meant is that I finally had something to use to get me out of that moment. Something to take me out of reality for a little bit, because that's what I really needed at the end of the day. But nothing really changed for the rest of the year. Nothing really changed at all. I was still that sad, lonely, depressed, unmotivated kid. And I went through therapy where I was diagnosed with depression. And I thought that, I always thought depression was sadness, but it's not. It's the lack of emotion. And that's exactly what I was going through. And once again, I'll say again, it never changed. It was like that for the whole year. Even throughout summer, nothing changed. And that's really the beginning of everything that happened during high school. Everything that's been going on since then, that's really the beginning. The end, I guess. Yeah. Then the school year ended. Nothing new. Still felt the same way pretty much, in a dark place. And I was able to go on a summer trip with my band, which is so cool. that's when I met my best friend. And I didn't know he would be my best friend that day. I didn't. I had no idea when I met him that he would become my best friend, but he would be. And that's something we'll end up exploring, I guess, in the next episode. Thank you.